If today were your last day, what would truly matter? Eleanor sat by the window, watching the golden afternoon light spill across the wooden floors of her quiet home. The room was still, save for the faint ticking of an old clock on the mantel. She reached for a small wooden box on the shelf, one she hadn't opened in years. Inside lay a collection of memories. Faded photographs, letters with ink that had begun to smudge, and tiny trinkets that once held great meaning. She ran her fingers over an old letter she had never sent. It had been meant for a friend she had lost touch with decades ago, someone she once held resentment toward. The words on the page still carried the weight of emotions she hadn't yet let go of. With a heavy sigh, she placed it back inside and closed the lid. How much of my life have I wasted holding on to things that no longer matter? She wondered. Time is an unusual thing. When we're young, we believe we have an endless supply of it. We fill our days with worries, how others perceive us, whether we're doing enough, whether we're enough. We carry burdens that aren't ours to bear and cling to the past as if it can change. But as the years pass, we begin to see life differently. At 72, Eleanor was beginning to understand a truth she wished she had known earlier. The weight of life is not in the years we have lived, but in what we choose to carry with us. Imagine walking through life with a backpack filled with heavy stones, each one representing an old grudge, a past mistake, or someone else's expectations. You've carried them for so long that you don't even notice the strain anymore. But what if you could set it down? What if, for the first time in years, you could walk freely, without the weight of things that no longer serve you? This is the journey Eleanor is on, the journey of learning to let go. If you've ever felt burdened by the expectations of others, the regrets of the past, or the endless chase for perfection, this story is for you. Over the years, Eleanor has discovered 12 lessons, 12 simple yet profound truths that have helped her find peace. Some of them may surprise you. Some may challenge the way you've been living. And perhaps, by the time we reach the final one, you'll begin to see your own life differently too. Let's walk this path together, because no matter where you are in life, it's never too late to let go of what doesn't matter and make room for what truly does. If this message resonates with you, subscribe to join us on this journey toward peace and fulfillment. Life is still unfolding. Let's live it with lightness and joy. Stop worrying about what others think. Eleanor stood in front of the mirror, adjusting the silk scarf around her neck. It was bright, too bright perhaps for someone her age. At least, that's what she imagined people would say. The old familiar voice in her head whispered, "You're too old for this. People will stare, they'll talk." For most of her life, Eleanor had lived in the shadows of other people's opinions. She had carefully curated her words, her actions, even the clothes she wore, always wondering, what will they think? When she was younger, she had been conscious of the neighbors' glances, the hushed murmurs at social gatherings, the silent judgments from family members who believed a woman should behave a certain way. She had spent decades shaping herself into the version of Eleanor that she thought the world wanted her to be. But the truth was, the world wasn't paying nearly as much attention as she thought. It wasn't until she was in her 60s that she had an epiphany. She had been at a cafe with an old friend, watching a group of young women laughing loudly at the table next to them. They were carefree, unapologetically themselves, wearing bold colors and speaking without hesitation. Eleanor had sighed and said, "I wish I had their confidence." Her friend had smiled knowingly and replied, "Eleanor, do you really think people are spending their time analyzing us? Everyone is too busy worrying about their own lives to be thinking about yours." The realization had stunned her. Had she really spent all these years tailoring herself for an audience that wasn't even watching? That day, something shifted. Eleanor began questioning the weight she had given to other people's opinions. The truth was, people's thoughts were fleeting. What seemed like an earth-shattering judgment to her was nothing more than a passing thought to someone else, forgotten by the end of the week, if not sooner. So now, at 72, she picked up the bright silk scarf again. And this time, she tied it around her neck with confidence. There is a kind of freedom that comes with age, the realization that you don't need permission to be yourself. The opinions of others are like the wind, unpredictable, shifting, and impossible to hold on to. Why let something so impermanent dictate the way you live? If you've spent your life worrying about how others perceive you, ask yourself, will their opinions matter in a year, in 5 years, when I'm gone? Eleanor had her answer, and when she stepped outside that morning, feeling the sun on her face and the wind brushing against her scarf, she knew she had finally chosen to live for herself. Life is too short to be lived through the lens of others. Be bold, be true to yourself, and most importantly, be free. Stop obsessing over a perfectly clean home. Eleanor used to believe that a clean home was a reflection of a good life. She had spent decades sweeping, scrubbing, dusting, always making sure that everything was in its place. A spotless floor, a gleaming kitchen, perfectly folded towels. These were the things she thought defined her as a capable woman, a good wife, a responsible mother. But now, at 72, she sat in her favorite armchair, watching the afternoon sun cast soft shadows on the wooden floor. She could see a light layer of dust settling on the coffee table, a few books stacked haphazardly on the shelf, a pair of reading glasses left on the kitchen counter. And for the first time in her life, she didn't feel the need to get up and fix it. For years, her mornings had started the same way, with an endless list of chores ticking through her mind before she even finished her first cup of coffee. The laundry needed to be done. The windows could use a wipe. The shelves were beginning to look cluttered. There was always something demanding her attention, always a corner of the house whispering, "Clean me, fix me, organize me." She had spent so much time chasing perfection that she often missed the small, beautiful moments that made life rich, like the way the sunlight danced on the hardwood floor in the early morning, or how the scent of fresh coffee filled the air, wrapping her in warmth before the day truly began. Then one day, her granddaughter Lily came to visit. She was 5 years old, with wide, curious eyes and a heart full of wonder. She ran barefoot through the living room, giggling as she spun in circles. At one point she stopped and picked up a small speck of dust from the floor. Holding it up to the light, she examined it with fascination. "Grandma, it's sparkling," she said, laughing. Eleanor had opened her mouth to apologize for not cleaning that morning, but then she stopped. To a child, dust wasn't a sign of neglect. It was something magical, something to be admired. In that moment, Eleanor saw her home through new eyes. It wasn't just a house to be kept immaculate. It was a place where life happened, a space where memories were made, where laughter echoed, where love resided. Did it really matter if the cushions weren't perfectly arranged? If the floors weren't gleaming? If there was a stack of unfolded laundry in the corner? She thought of all the hours she had spent polishing countertops instead of playing with her children. All the moments she had sacrificed for the sake of a perfect home. Now she knew better. A perfect home isn't one that is spotless, it's one that is lived in. It's a home where people feel comfortable putting their feet up, where the scent of a home-cooked meal lingers, where books are left open on the table because someone was lost in a good story. So today, Eleanor let the dust settle. She poured herself another cup of coffee, sat back in her chair and simply enjoyed the warmth of the afternoon sun. Because life is too short to chase dust bunnies. A little dust never hurt anyone. But missing out on the beauty of everyday moments, that's a loss too great to bear.